There is something flowing inside each of us, something unseen, yet powerful enough to give life, or to take it away. We call it blood. But in truth, it is more than just a red liquid. It is memory. It is energy. It is identity. Every drop that circulates through your veins carries the story of who you are, your ancestors, your resilience, your essence. Now imagine for a moment that something foreign enters that sacred flow, a type of blood that does not belong to you. What happens then? The body does not hesitate. It reacts, it fights, it protects itself because it knows that survival begins with recognition, recognizing what belongs and what does not. But this lesson is not only biological, it is deeply spiritual, because life itself is built on the same laws. When you allow the wrong energy, the wrong people, or the wrong emotions into your inner system, you begin to destroy your natural harmony. So today, we are not just talking about blood. We are talking about awareness, about protection, about the silent wisdom of your own body. Stay with me until the end of this talk, because once you understand what truly happens when you are injected with the wrong blood type, you will also understand one of the greatest truths about life, balance, and energy. The truth that what flows inside you must always remain pure, intentional, and aligned with who you truly are. Every human being carries within them a silent symphony, an orchestra of cells, energy, and intelligence that never stops playing. This is the hidden language of blood. It flows without asking for permission, it nourishes without expecting gratitude, and it holds within it the truth of our very existence. From the moment we take our first breath, this river of life begins its journey, carrying oxygen, nutrients, and signals that tell every cell who we are. And just like a language, it has structure, rhythm, and meaning. Science calls it blood type, AB, or O. Yet behind those letters lies something far more profound. It is not just a biological label, it is an energetic signature. Your blood type determines what is compatible with you, what strengthens you, and what can destroy you. It is a reminder that nature itself values harmony and alignment. When the wrong type of blood enters your system, your body immediately knows. It doesn't hesitate. It doesn't negotiate. It speaks the language of truth through action. This does not belong here. Have you ever wondered why your body reacts so fiercely to what is not its own? Because at the deepest level, your body understands boundaries better than your mind often does. It recognizes when something foreign, something mismatched, tries to blend with its natural rhythm, and without hesitation it defends its purity. There is no confusion, no hesitation, only clarity. That is wisdom in motion. But this wisdom is not confined to the body, it is a mirror for life itself. How often do we allow energies, relationships, or influences to enter our personal space that do not belong? We let them in because they appear comforting, or because we are afraid of being alone, or because we have forgotten what our true type, our true essence, feels like. And slowly, just like the body rejecting the wrong blood, our inner system begins to rebel. We feel exhausted, restless, uncertain. The symptoms are subtle at first, but the message is always the same: something that does not belong has entered your flow. The body never lies. It responds immediately to misalignment. The question is, do we respond as quickly when our spirit feels invaded? Or do we keep forcing ourselves to accept what does not fit, believing that maybe it will work, that maybe we can adapt? You see, your blood cannot adapt to a type that is incompatible with its own nature. It simply can't. To force it would mean to destroy the very balance that keeps you alive. The same is true in life. You cannot thrive in an environment that contradicts your energy, your values, your truth. Think of how precisely the universe is designed. Every molecule, every atom, every breath exists in balance. The oceans don't mix with the skies. The sun doesn't compete with the moon. They each honor their nature, their rhythm, their purpose. And when they interact, they do so in harmony. This is the same principle your blood follows. It interacts, but only when compatibility exists. When it meets a mismatch, it resists. It says, "This is not for me." In life, learning to speak the language of your own energy means recognizing the same boundaries. Who are the people, the environments, the thoughts that feel like a match to your flow? And who are those that drain you, disturb your peace, or change your rhythm? If you listen closely, your body, your intuition, your energy, they all whisper the truth long before your mind understands it. They say, "Be careful, this is not your type." Every healthy relationship, every meaningful pursuit, Every decision that aligns with your truth is like receiving the right type of blood. It strengthens you, restores your energy, and makes you come alive. But every time you ignore that inner voice and force a connection that doesn't align, you are injecting yourself with the wrong type of energy. And sooner or later, your system begins to show the signs. Confusion, anxiety, burnout. These are not random experiences. They are the body's way of saying, I am rejecting what is not aligned. The hidden language of blood teaches one of the most important lessons about awareness, the importance of compatibility. Not just physical compatibility, but emotional, mental, and spiritual compatibility. When you find what resonates with your inner rhythm, you don't have to fight to keep it. It fits naturally. You feel peace. You feel flow. You feel life. This understanding transforms how we approach everything. It teaches us to stop chasing what doesn't match and start protecting what already flows in harmony within us. It tells us to value purity over quantity, alignment over attachment. Because the body does not thrive on how much it receives, it thrives on what it can accept and integrate without conflict. The same is true for your spirit. We live in a world that often encourages mixing ideas, influences, energies, without asking if they are compatible. But nature doesn't operate that way. Nature values coherence. It values structure. It values the integrity of each form. That is why the body's design is so perfect it welcomes what belongs and rejects what doesn't. Not because it's cruel, but because it knows that preservation is an act of wisdom, not ego. When you start to see your inner world through this perspective, you become more selective, not in a judgmental way, but in an aware way. You stop allowing everything to enter your life just because it's available. You begin to ask deeper questions. Does this resonate with me? Does it strengthen my flow or disrupt it? That is the beginning of mastery. When you learn to listen to your own current, to your own rhythm, because deep within, your energy always knows what is right for you. It has always known. It speaks in sensations, in emotions, in silence. It tells you when to welcome and when to walk away. And every time you honor that voice, you are aligning with the same intelligence that keeps your blood flowing in harmony. So the next time you think about blood types, don't just see letters or scientific labels. See wisdom. See a message from nature itself, reminding you that survival, growth, and peace all depend on one thing: alignment. The body knows this truth instinctively. The question is, will you listen as closely as it does? Because what flows within you is sacred. Protect it. Not everything is meant to mix. When the wrong blood enters the body, something extraordinary happens. Not because of the act itself, but because of how the body responds. The moment incompatible blood touches your system, it doesn't stay silent. It reacts immediately, fiercely, and decisively. It is as if the body suddenly recognizes that something foreign has invaded its sacred territory, and it begins a war that no one can see with the eyes, yet it is powerful enough to determine life or death. The immune system, that silent guardian within you, rises to defend the body. It detects that the incoming cells do not match its own signature. The red blood cells, instead of flowing in harmony, begin to clash. The body starts releasing antibodies to destroy what it perceives as a threat. In that moment, the body is not being aggressive, it is being wise. It is protecting the purity of its own system. It knows that accepting what doesn't belong could mean the end of its balance, the end of its life. This reaction is known in science as a transfusion reaction, but in the language of awareness, it is a metaphor for what happens to us emotionally, mentally, and spiritually when we allow the wrong energies to enter our inner world. Just as the body defends itself from incompatible blood, your mind and soul try to defend themselves from incompatible people, thoughts, and environments. But unlike the body, we often ignore these warnings. We silence our intuition. We tell ourselves, it's fine, I can handle it. Yet inside, the battle has already begun. Think about the last time you felt uneasy around someone or drained after spending time in a certain place. That was your energy's immune system whispering, this doesn't belong here. But instead of listening, we often push through, hoping it will get better. We keep engaging, we keep allowing, and soon, just like a body overwhelmed by foreign blood, our inner systems begin to collapse. We experience fatigue, confusion, stress, or even emotional pain, not realizing that these are symptoms of rejection, not weakness. The body has a clear rule: only what aligns can stay. Everything else must be released, And in that same way, life teaches us that not everything meant to enter our lives is meant to stay. Some people, situations, or experiences come as lessons. But when we force them to remain, we create internal conflict. The wrong energy doesn't just pass through quietly, it challenges your peace, it disrupts your balance, and it demands your attention. Incompatible blood cells cause clots, blockages, and inflammation. They restrict the flow that was once smooth and natural. Isn't that what happens when you let the wrong energy inside your life? Your inner flow, your joy, your creativity, your focus begins to feel stuck. Everything feels heavier, slower, more difficult. The natural rhythm of your being becomes clouded by resistance. It's as if your spirit is gasping for air, trying to remind you that you've let something foreign enter your sacred space. The pain you feel in these moments is not punishment, it's communication. It's your inner system asking you to pay attention. The same way the body produces fever, pain, and inflammation to signal that something is wrong, your emotions produce discomfort to alert you that something doesn't belong. Pain is not the enemy. It's the language of awareness. It's your body's way of saying, protect yourself before it's too late. But the problem is we often confuse resistance with guilt. We think setting boundaries makes us unkind. We think walking away means weakness. Yet your immune system doesn't apologize when it destroys harmful cells. It simply does what is necessary for survival. You must learn to do the same. To recognize when something is wrong and to act without hesitation. Because waiting too long to remove what doesn't belong can be deadly, physically for the body and spiritually for the soul. When incompatible blood enters the veins, the heart still tries to pump. It doesn't stop immediately. It continues to do its job, even though the flow is no longer smooth. The heart works harder, faster, trying to keep the body alive. But eventually, if the wrong blood is not removed, the system collapses. This mirrors what happens when we try to keep relationships, habits, or mindsets that no longer serve us. We keep forcing our hearts to work harder, hoping that effort will fix what is fundamentally incompatible. But in doing so, we exhaust ourselves. We weaken our own energy trying to maintain what was never meant to blend with us. The greatest wisdom lies in recognizing when something no longer flows naturally. Just as the body depends on pure circulation to stay alive, your life depends on the free and peaceful flow of energy. When that flow is blocked, you must ask yourself, what have I allowed in that doesn't belong? What energy have I accepted that my soul is now trying to reject? You see, the body doesn't hate the wrong blood. It simply knows it cannot coexist with it. There is no hatred, no revenge, no resentment, only awareness. It doesn't say, this blood is bad. It simply says, this blood is not mine. That is wisdom. And that is how you must also learn to live. When something or someone doesn't align with your peace, your purpose, or your energy, it doesn't mean they are wrong. It simply means they are not your type. The body doesn't personalize rejection. It simply chooses survival. Many people suffer not because life is unkind, but because they keep holding on to what their inner self has already rejected. They cling to incompatible energies, hoping they can change their nature. But life, like blood, is honest. What is not meant for you will always cause resistance. The more you try to keep it, the more your system suffers. Letting go is not cruelty. It is the only way to restore your flow. In medical science, when incompatible blood is transfused, doctors rush to cleanse the system, to flush out what doesn't belong, to restore the natural rhythm before it's too late. That process may be painful, but it is necessary for healing. The same applies to your emotional and spiritual healing. You may need to cleanse your inner world, to release what doesn't belong, to detox from old attachments, to remove the energies that block your peace. It may hurt, but it will save your life. When you understand this, you no longer fear endings. You no longer fear rejection. You see them for what they are, protective mechanisms of the soul. Just as your body refuses what will harm it, life removes what no longer serves your growth. Trust that process. Even when it feels uncomfortable, it is guiding you back to harmony. The wrong blood teaches us something powerful, that the body's first response to invasion is not aggression, but self-respect. It values its own design enough to protect it. It knows what it needs to survive, and it will not compromise. Learn from that. Value your peace the same way your body values its balance. Defend it without guilt. Protect it without apology. Because when the wrong blood enters, The body wages a war, not to destroy, but to preserve. And sometimes the wars we fight within are not signs of weakness, but signs that our inner self is trying to save us from what doesn't belong. When your inner system starts to fight, listen carefully. It is not breaking down, it is fighting for you. The body has its own laws, quiet, firm, and deeply intelligent. One of its greatest lessons is boundaries. Not boundaries made of walls or distance, but boundaries built on awareness. When the wrong blood enters your body, your immune system immediately rises to protect you. It doesn't pause to debate. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't worry about offending the foreign cells. It simply acts. Because the body understands something we often forget, that boundaries are not about rejection, they are about protection. The immune system doesn't carry hatred. It carries clarity. It doesn't attack because it's cruel. It defends because it knows what belongs. That kind of wisdom is the essence of true balance, knowing what strengthens you and what weakens you, what nourishes you and what poisons you. The body does this instinctively. But as human beings, we complicate it. We confuse kindness with compliance. We confuse compassion with permission. We let too much in and then wonder why we feel drained, lost, or fragmented. Look at how your body responds to harm. It builds a boundary, a fever, an inflammation, an immune defense. It says, this far and no further. That is not weakness. That is strength. And yet, when it comes to our emotional or spiritual health, we often fail to do the same. We allow people to cross our lines, to take our energy, to plant their doubts and their chaos inside us, all because we fear being misunderstood. But nature doesn't apologize for its design, and your body doesn't apologize for protecting you. Boundaries are the immune system of your soul. Just as your physical immune system protects your body from foreign invaders, your emotional boundaries protect your spirit from energy that doesn't align with who you are. Without them, you become vulnerable to everything, to manipulation, to negativity, to distraction. You start absorbing energies that are not yours to carry, and slowly you begin to lose your own rhythm. Imagine for a moment that your bloodstream had no barriers, that any cell could enter, merge, and flow without restriction. There would be chaos. You would not survive. The same is true for your inner world, when everything and everyone is allowed to enter unchecked. Their opinions, their emotions, their expectations, your peace cannot survive. The purity of your inner flow begins to dilute, and what once felt natural and strong starts to feel heavy and confused. The body doesn't need permission to protect itself. It's programmed to do so. But as conscious beings, we have to choose to protect ourselves. That's what awareness is, an active decision to maintain balance. Many people think boundaries are about pushing others away, but they are not. They are about keeping your inner system healthy so that when you do connect with others, you do it from a place of wholeness, not depletion. Every system in nature has its boundary. The ocean respects the shore. The night gives way to the dawn. The seasons arrive and depart in perfect rhythm. There is no conflict because each element understands its space, its time, its purpose. The body follows the same principle. It thrives when everything remains in its rightful place. Trouble begins only when boundaries are blurred, when what doesn't belong starts to claim space that was never meant for it. When we fail to set boundaries, it's not because we don't have the strength, it's because we've forgotten our worth. We think that saying, no, makes us selfish. But the truth is, saying no is the highest form of self-respect. It is the same no your immune system says to incompatible blood, not out of hatred, but out of love for life itself. Saying no to what harms you is saying yes to your well-being. You see, the body is a master of balance because it trusts its intelligence. It doesn't second-guess its instincts. It knows that preservation is necessary for evolution. But many people have been taught to silence that instinct, to please others, to fit in, to avoid conflict. And every time you ignore your own boundaries, you teach yourself that your peace is less important than someone else's comfort. That is how we lose the essence of our inner health. If you observe closely, you'll notice that every moment of imbalance in your life began with a boundary that wasn't honored. You said yes when your heart wanted to say no. You kept quiet when your spirit wanted to speak. You allowed what didn't belong, and your energy began to react, just like the immune system reacts to foreign blood. It tried to protect you through anxiety, through restlessness, through unease. Those sensations were not random, they were your body's natural defense mechanism. There is something deeply sacred about protecting your own energy. It's not isolation, it's preservation. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. You cannot give genuine love when your own heart feels invaded. Just as the blood must remain pure for the body to function, your inner world must remain aligned for your life to flow in harmony. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They allow love, trust, and compassion to enter, but keep toxicity, doubt, and fear out. Sometimes protecting your peace will mean disappointing others. It will mean being misunderstood. It will mean standing alone for a while. But that solitude is not punishment, it is recalibration. It is your system cleansing itself, strengthening itself, remembering its natural rhythm. The body does the same thing. It isolates what doesn't belong to prevent infection from spreading. You too must sometimes step away to heal. People often ask, how do I know if my boundaries are strong? The answer is simple: peace is your proof. When your boundaries are healthy, your energy flows freely. You no longer feel drained by every interaction. You no longer feel the need to explain your decisions. You begin to move through life with calm confidence because you know what belongs in your system and what does not. That is the wisdom your body demonstrates every moment of your life. The beauty of boundaries is that they don't isolate you from the world, they connect you more authentically. When your body is healthy, it doesn't reject everything, it allows what nourishes it to stay. In the same way, your emotional boundaries allow genuine connections to deepen. They create space for trust, respect, and balance. Without boundaries, there can be no true intimacy because everything becomes mixed, blurred, undefined. But when you know where you end and another begins, love becomes clearer, energy becomes lighter, and life becomes simpler. You were not created to carry everything. You were created to flow. Just like your blood doesn't try to fix the wrong type that enters, it simply removes it. You too must learn to let go of what disrupts your rhythm. Don't try to change every person or situation. Don't try to make everything fit. What doesn't align will always resist. Your task is to listen, not to force. To honor the wisdom within you that says, this doesn't belong here. Every time you honor your boundaries, you strengthen your inner system. You teach your body, your mind, and your soul that you can be trusted to protect them. That is how true confidence is built, not from control, but from self-respect. The immune system doesn't control the world around it, it simply maintains its balance within it. That is your role too. You don't need to control others. You only need to master your own energy. When the wrong blood enters the body, the immune system doesn't panic. It acts with precision. It removes what's harmful and restores balance. Imagine if you lived that way, calm, decisive, and aligned with what's true for you. That is real strength. That is mastery. Boundaries are not about building a fortress, they're about building integrity. They remind you that peace is not given. It's preserved. And every time you choose peace over pleasing, clarity over confusion, truth over tolerance of harm,